Reading on this Tuesday of Holy Week, another portion of Walt Wangerin Jr.'s book, The Simple Truth of Airborne's Bible, titled Tuesday, Teaching and Treachery. Toward the Mount of Olives, Jesus led his disciples. As they walked, the disciples discussed the temple building. What an excellent piece of work it was. How beautiful were its stones, how admirably and solidly they were joined together. But Jesus shook his head in warning. Time is coming, he said, when it will be destroyed so completely that not one stone will be left standing on another. This thought itched in the minds of the disciples. So later, when they were sitting on the Mount of Olives, they asked, "When, Lord? When will the temple be demolished? Also, what will be the signs of your return and the end of this age?" Slowly, carefully, Jesus answered, "Be careful that no one deceives you," he warned. "For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ.' Do not believe them. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Even then, do not be alarmed. The end is not yet. Nation will rise up against nation, and there will be famines and earthquakes. These are not signs of the end. They are just the beginning of the birth pains. Then people will persecute you and put you to death. You will be despised by all the nations for the sake of my name. Then many will fall away from me, betraying and hating one another. In the spreading wickedness, love will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. When the good news of the kingdom of God has been preached throughout the entire world, then the end will come. It will not come with the destruction of the temple. It will come with the spread of the gospel. This is the sign of the end. The end. The sun will be darkened, the moon wink out, the stars fall down from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then all the peoples of the world shall see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. He will send out his angels with the blast of a trumpet, and they will gather his chosen people from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Then, only then, is it the end. But listen to me, Jesus said with an intensity that none of them forgot. No one can tell you when the end will come. Of that day and that hour, no one knows, not the angels in heaven, not even the Son of Man. The Father alone, he knows. Therefore, watch. Be ready. Always, always be ready. For when the day of judgment arrives, when the Son of Man descends in all his glory, continued Jesus, he will sit on his throne. Before him shall stand the nations of the world. Then he shall separate people as a shepherd separates sheep from goats, the sheep on the right, the goats to the left. To those upon his right hand the king will say, "Come, O blessed of my Father, come, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the beginning of time. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was stranger, and you welcomed me, naked, and you clothed me, sick, and you cared for me, in prison, and you visited me." But the righteous will ask, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we welcome you as a stranger, clothe you, or visit you?" Then the king will answer them, "When you did it to one of the least of these, my people, you did it to me." Next he will say to those on his left, "Away from me, you cursed, away to the fires eternal, burning for the devil and all of his angels. For I was hungry, but you gave me no food, thirsty, but you gave me no drink. I was a stranger who found no welcome from you, naked and given no clothing by you, sick and no care, imprisoned and no visit." "When, Lord?" the wicked will ask, shocked at the sentence and gravely ignorant of their crime. "When did we see you in need and do none of these things for you?" In truth, when you denied kindness to the least of these, the king will explain, you denied kindness to me. Then the wicked will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to life everlasting. When Jesus finished teaching, he rose and returned to Bethany. He had need of a rest. Friday was not far off. Because Judas Iscariot carried the money for the disciples, it was not unusual for him to go off alone to purchase bread or some other necessity. Therefore, when he left Jesus and the others, frowning so thoughtfully that his black eyebrows nearly covered his eyes, no one asked, "Where are you going?" Everyone supposed that Jesus knew where Judas Iscariot was headed. Does anyone know the habits of Jesus? Does anyone know him that well? When Judas had heard the chief priests asking those questions, he had thought, "Who knows Jesus better than I?" Little did the disciples know that Judas was going to the temple, to the chief priests, to sell Jesus, not to buy bread. Judas was shrewd in business, cunning at the trading table, convinced that he could accomplish his own will in every exchange. Why else would he hold the one purse for the 12? Now his eyebrows narrowed, and he began to bargain. "How much will you give me," he asked the chief priests, "if I deliver unto you Jesus of Nazareth?" The chief priests raised their eyebrows in interest. "Do you know Jesus?" they asked. "Very well," he said. "Do you know his habits?" "As well as any man." "Do you know some private place to which he retires, some place where the crowds do not follow him?" "Yes," said Jesus. His eyes relaxed. He knew such a place. "Understand that we cannot arrest him openly," said the chief priests. "The people would riot, and the whole purpose of this important labor would be lost. Time and place are critical. Make them late and lonely, if you can." Judas, shrewd bargainer, giving so little to get so much, merely replied, "I can do that." "Then you are a friend to us," Judas Iscariot, smiled the chief priests. "And we take care of our friends." Carefully, they weighed 30 pieces of silver into his hand, which hand dropped them not into the common purse, but into his own. Then Judas left, content. A lot of money for so little information. It had been a successful conversation.